Neo's Fox by Vincent Darkfire, Chapter 3, Part 2. One time skip later. At last, the group of first years had gathered at Beacon Cliff. Each stood atop a stone slab with the school's emblem on it. For years, you have trained to become warriors, and today your abilities will be evaluated in the Emerald Forest. Now, Miss Goodwitch began. I'm sure many of you have heard rumors about the assignment of teams. Well, allow us to put an end to your confusion. Each of you will be given teammates today. These teammates will be with you for the rest of your time here at Beacon, so it is in your best interest to be paired with someone with whom you can work well. That being said, the first person you make eye contact with after landing will be your partner for the next 4 years. Hospen spoke uninterrupted, not even by his own body language, and he only moved to gesture towards the students as he concluded. What? Ruby shouted, interrupting him. Hospen ignored Ruby and the murmuring of the other students and continued. After you partnered up, the students silenced themselves to hear him speak. Make your way to the northern edge of the forest. You will meet a position along the way. Do not hesitate to destroy everything in your path. He paused dramatically, or you will die. You'll be monitored and graded from the duration of initiation, but our instructors will not intervene. You'll find an abandoned temple at the end of the path containing several relics. Each pair must choose one and return to the top of the cliff. You will guard that item as well as your standing and will grade you appropriately. Are there any questions? John was the first to speak. Yeah, sir. Osmond again ignored his antics. Good. Now take your positions. One by one, the students took a battle stance except for John. Sir, I got a question. John paused as the first student Weiss was launched off the cliff. So, this landing strategy thing, what is it? You're dropping us off or something? He asked, hopefully stammering, as even more students were simply hurled into the sky. No, you'll be falling. God, I love that line. He paused to see a student grin cockily as he was launched. Oh, I see. So, you hand parachutes for us? A girl shouted woohoo as she was launched. No, you will be using your own landing strategy. Osmond said simply, yeah. Realization sinking in as more and more students were catapulted over the cliff. So, what exactly is a landing strategy? As he joined the other students in the air over the emerald forest, Osmond turned to watch them fall, a content look on his face as he sipped his mug. You really are sadistic, you know that. The final student, Naruto, asked. Again, the student was ignored. Neo, you need to get off Naruto, Linda said as she glared at the small young woman. Neo just smirked as Naruto took a sip of his coffee, and Naruto put away the mug. Uh, Naruto just looked at her. Nah, it's good. I think I'll keep it, he said as he took another sip. Glinda almost snapped. She had to stop herself. She looked at her boss, who mirrored the sip that Naruto just took. Osmond noticed, what? It runs in the family. At least he doesn't have his mother's ramen addiction. The good witch just rubbed the bridge of her nose as she shook her head. That's true. Just at least tell me how you guys can drink that anywhere and not spill a single drop, she simply said. Both Naruto and Ospen said in unison, it's a family secret. And with that, Naruto was launched. As soon as Naruto was catapulted, Ospen spoke. I bet you he won't spill a single drop. Glinda looked at Ospen, shocked that he would even consider. I'll take that bet. Ospin smiled as he took another sip. He knew he was going to win. It's in their genes not to spill coffee while it's in your favorite mug. Naruto grinned like a madman. He was flying, and everything was exhilarating. The feeling of the wind ripping at his hair and clothes, the rush of the ground surging towards you, the birdie no! Naruto turned his head and saw a puff of feathers and rose petals and ruby flying in front of the chaos. That poor bird. He lamented for the feathered creature. Yahoo! Yang blasted her way through the air, firing her amber silica behind her, fueling her momentum. Her hair, unaffected by the shotgun blast, wiped about behind her. If one had a ground eye view of her, she looked like a yellow dragon as she passed in front of the sun. Naruto then heard what sounded like shattering wood. He turned to see a power explode from a tree, splinters and leaves trailing behind her. She rolled out of the fall, and immediately had her rifle at the ready. The tops of three trees began to fall as she flipped her weapon over her shoulder, amazed as the gun transformed into a spear, and she threw it. Naruto looked down his body and saw Neo had her arms and legs wrapped around him with a big smile on her face. Today's going to be great, Naruto said, holding his mug. Somehow the liquid inside hadn't moved from being perfectly level. It can only, you can only get the son of a whore. Naruto shouted as a giant nevermore flew over them. Fan-fucking-tastic. What's next? An annoying robot that everyone hates? Naruto felt Neo tap his shoulder. He turned his head to see something flying towards him, its beak wide open. Son of a Protestant whore. Ospen looked at his black scroll, which displayed the live feed of the students. He mumbled as he took a sip from his mug. Glinda smiled because she knew she got the bit in the bag. She too watched the scroll with Naruto. Naruto looked at the giant grim that was hurtling towards him. He reached over his shoulder and drew his staff. A shadow fox came to life as it began to surge red as burn dust was channeled through it. Naruto thrust the grand staff at the grim, and a giant fist of fire materialized, hurtling at the Nevermore. The impact interrupted its trajectory, making it miss Naruto and Neo. Keeping his mug context still perfectly leveled, he managed to flip over and land on the back of the dazed creature of Grim. In less than an instant, Naruto began to run down the back of the Nevermore, twirling the burning red shadow fox about him as he ran, gesturing the bladed fox head at the wings every now and then. As he jumped off the tail feathers, Naruto slashed down, cutting off some of the creature's tail feathers. He turned in midair and thrust the head of Shadow Fox at the Nevermore, and a pair of fire fists erupted from the air above the creature's wing, punching the beast towards the ground. As the charred, smoking demon hurled towards Remnant, it twisted around, it roared in pain and hate as it flung its dense razor-sharp feathers at the animal that dared harm it. Naruto twirled his icy blue shadow fox as he brought it between him. He slammed it towards his feet as if stabbing the ground with both hands, and a thick sphere of crystalline ice formed around Naruto and his Neo. Both the ball of ice and the great Nevermore plummeted towards Remnant at the same rate. The feathers managed to drive almost all the way through the ice, protecting Neo and him. All the while, Neo was smirking in confidence of Naruto's immediate victory. As the Nevermore landed, Naruto's ball of ice crashed into the ground, shattering the sphere and stabbing the Nevermore feathers into itself. Naruto broke a hole out of the back of the sphere and jumped out before the sphere collapsed on itself. Naruto landed in a lightly rotated skate on his feet. He held his mug in his hand. rotating his wrist to keep his coffee level in the cup. He slowly brought his arm before him as he slowed his wrist rotation. He put Shadow Fox back in the grasp on his back and grabbed the handle of the mug. He smiled in his victory as he sipped his coffee and scalded his tongue. Now to breathe in and out quickly to cool the burn on his tongue. Too hot, he explained while his tongue hung out. Neil let go of Naruto and stood before him. She leaned up and gave him a kiss on the lips. Her cool tongue battled his scalding tongue for dominance. Neil believed she had an advantage over Naruto's scald. They stood like that for a while. When Neil finally broke the kiss, a single bridge of syllable connected them. Thanks, Neil. My tongue feels much better. She smiled at him and laced her fingers around behind her back, pushing her chest out as Naruto was going to steal another kiss. The Nevermore made its presence known. The creature lunged towards them, making to devour them. Instantly, Naruto had drawn his staff and aimed at the bloody red glowing specter and at the creature. A blood-red demon hand gripped either of the Nevermore's jaw. Naruto glared at the one visible eye of the Nevermore as he sharply pulled the scepter down to his side and twirled it back into the clasps. A crystal ice shield formed above them as Nevermore was torn in half by the hands, each half tossed in either direction. The black blood of the green vaporized upon contact with air. Naruto looked back at Neo, who had the devilishly approving smirk on her face. What? Don't look at me in that tone of voice. It was gonna eat us. Neo just kept smirking. Fine, fine, you win. He could never win with her. Neo leaped onto his shoulder and started to pet his fox's ears. She made sure to keep Shadow Fox within reach. Neo, is there a reason you've gone without the underwear? She ignored him as she continued to pet his ears with Ruby. Ruby is running as fast as her siblings would carry her. Gotta find Yang, gotta find Yang, gotta find Yang, Yang. She called as she ran. This is bad. This is really bad. What if I can't find her? What if someone finds her first? There's always John. He's nice. He's funny. I don't think he's very good in a fight, though. Ooh, what about Blake? So mysterious, so calm. Plus, she likes books. Well, then again, I don't think I could hold a conversation with her. And Naruto, I mean, he's strong, sexy, and has an amazing set of Ruby Rose. How could you think of such things? Her thoughts were interrupted when a little voice in her head yelled at her. In her mind, she saw a shirtless Naruto flexing for a chibi version of herself in a white robe with angel wings and a halo. How could you think of something so sexy? He regarded his dreamy smile and those soft red eyes that can make any girl fall for him. Just a bit of the fourth wall breaking here from someone who helped him write this. God, Vincent, stop! The sappiness is drowning me. Getsuga. And now back to our regular scheduled program. Now she imagined herself in Naruto's strong arms, Ruby sporting the damnedest red blush on her face. She imagined his sweet lips when she shook her head. Well, okay, who else do I know in this school? Yang, John, Blake, Naruto, and she was caught off guard as she had to skate to a halt at the sudden sight of someone else. Ruby shyly looked up and locked eyes with Whis, who just turns and walked away like, nope. Wait, where are you going? The redhead girl called after her. We're supposed to be teams. She sighed in defeat with Naruto and Neil. As the two teens walked into a clearing, they descended a hill into some ruins. Naruto and Neil neared the ruins. They noticed a series of chess pieces and pedestals. As Naruto walked around the pieces, he stopped before and picked up the Black Queen. He pulled out his scroll, swiped a few times, and held it to his ears. When the other had answered, he said, "The board has been set. The queen shall make her move." Naruto heard the seductively smooth voice of a woman say. Naruto put his scroll away as Neil walked up. He nodded to her as she took yet another sip of his coffee, yet to spill even a drop. Neo picked up the Black Queen and climbed to her perch. Naruto walked to the back of the roofless ruins and leaned against the wall behind the pillar near the rear exit. Together they looked up at the sky. They watched as Cardin and his partners ran over the hill towards the ruins, taking a wild grab as they passed some relics. Sky and Russell grabbed both the black bishops. Carter noticed Neo sitting with Naruto. He slowed to a stop, turning to look at them directly. Say, what's a pretty girl doing like you doing with an animal? Why not hang out with a real man? The armored douche tried to reach for Neo. Cardin didn't even see movement before he was pushed into the wall. Naruto stood with Shadow Fox's scepter orb pushed into Cardin's chest. Right above his armor, Cardin glanced over at Neo, sitting on a fallen pillar watching the fight. Behind Naruto, Cardin's team pulled out their weapons and brandished them at the fox. What's a hunk of wood gonna do to me? I bet you can't even fight, Rockstar. The brown-haired ass clown mocked. Sky, Russell, and Dove all rushed Naruto with their weapons, aimed to end him. Naruto ripped Shadow Fox upwards, hitting Cardin's jaw, wiping his head into the wall, dazing him. Naruto's staff continued its wicked arc and slamming directly onto Sky's head. The Dark Crystal Scepter knocked Sky out cold. As Sky fell unconscious, Dove and Russell came to slash at Naruto. Naruto parried them both by twirling his scepter, directing Russell up and Dove down. They lost balance and slid to either side behind Naruto next to Cardin. Cardin got to his feet and swung his wicked-looking mace at Naruto. Naruto jumped back away from the black mace and its sinister red orb. Cardin smiled. He flipped, flinging one leg over him and using the centrifugal force on his own muscles to rotate faster. His next blow was too fast for Naruto to dodge, so he blocked it with Shadow Fox. When the mace struck his staff, Naruto's hand instantly went numb and he lost his grip. Gravity dust? As Shadow Fox was flung to the other side of the ruins, Naruto glared up at Cardin, Dove, and Russell on either side of him. Cardin nodded his head towards Naruto, and again they rushed him. Russell actually went high, and Dove slashed low. Naruto aerobatically jumped over Russell's sword and drew his own ebony. He slashed at the outside of Russell's forearm, forcing him to drop his blade. The gun sword fell and nearly cut Dove. If not for his gauntlets, it would have. Dove looked towards Russell, who was hunched over, grabbing his bleeding arm. Naruto hit him in the forehead with his palm, and Russell was launched into a pillar unconscious. Then Naruto looked at Dove and thrust his staff at the brown armored boy. The ground erupted in crystals of ice as the effect raced towards Dove. The squinty-eyed boy was frozen in fear as he was trapped in the crystal of the dust spell. How did this happen? Cardin said as he watched his team get wrecked right in front of him. Naruto laughed as he looked over his shoulder. You want to know how I did this? And Naruto turned and held his hands out wide, gesturing to Cardin's beaten team. I am what you call a battle mage. Dust is my plaything. But I thought your semblance was linking people to you. Cardin raised his mace to block a slash from Ebony. Cardin didn't expect the weight behind the sword. He barely managed to deflect the attack away from him. Naruto's face snapped into a grin. Not even close. My semblance is to control dust as I please. Absolute mastery of dust. Licking people to me? You mean like controlling them? Don't you remember the old story? Man born from dust, all people are is living dust. Though it's a sentient being, I can only somewhat control people. You've seen it. Now allow me to show you my dust mastery. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, smooth pebble. Dust, Naruto explained, mined and purified in a Shinee quarry, and he proceeded to eat the crystallized form of nature's wrath. Naruto closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then Naruto exhaled and opened his garnet eyes. Carden couldn't help but notice that they were glowing. No, not just his eyes, his aura. It's visible. Carden was frozen in shock. Only those with a massive amount of aura and mastered how to manipulate it could do that. Carden took a shaky step backwards. Naruto drew ivory from his waist and slammed the blunt of the blades together. All his aura was absorbed by the two blades as they combined into a single large blood-red claymore. Naruto single-handedly hefted the blade, the double-sided blade, and rested it on his shoulders. Runes glowing down either side of the blades, some a void of darkness, others pools of light. Carden began to visibly shake as he watched Naruto hold the blades over his head. No, I will not be intimidated by an animal. He gripped his black mace and charged Naruto. Carden lifted his mace above his head, bearing down Naruto. As he neared Naruto, he flung the mace, trying to cave in Naruto's chest. Naruto simply let the Twilight Sepulchre fall. I lost track of where I'm at. As he neared Naruto, he flung Twilight's Sepulchre fall. A trail of fire flickered behind the large blade. The sword caught one of the many grooves on Carden's mace and dragged it to the ground, causing a fiery explosion to erupt from the blades. Carden lost his balance as he fell to the stone ground, skidding to a stop just before the blade of Naruto's claymore missed by the fires above him. When Naruto ripped the Twilight Sepulchre away from the dark mace, Carden looked up and saw the resolve to kill in Naruto's eyes. Carden, at a loss, grabbed his weapon and turned tail, fearing for his life. Naruto smirked as he watched Carden, but his smile turned bitter when he remembered Carden abandoned his team. Naruto began to cough violently. Twilight Sepulchre divided again as Naruto lost concentration. He dropped ebony and ivory as he dropped to his knees and covered his mouth. When the coughing subsided, he looked at his bloody hands. Every fucking time I do that. He ran his tongue around his mouth and spat out a glob of blood. I cough up blood. Neil walked up to Naruto. I love you, Naruto. As she pulled him into a hug, she said. Naruto embraced her. I love you too, my little ice cream. Fourth wall break again. I get it. Ice cream sounds like ice queen. End of chapter 3.